In the next lectures, we are going to be covering all of the concepts related to C# and also introduce the new features of C#6. So the first thing that we're going to cover is C# object-oriented programming principles. And then by individual lectures, we are going to cover the basics of C# related to classes, object methods, conditionals, operators, arrays, loops, types, variables, and much more related to the C# programming language. The last item we're going to cover over the next few lectures is related to C#6 features. Object-oriented programming. Most of you already know what object-oriented programming is, but sometimes it's very nice to review the basic concepts related to object-oriented programming. So what is object-oriented programming? It's a programming model where programs are organized around objects and data rather than action and logic. C# is related around this main concept. A lot of the strongly typed languages like Java and Objective-C are related to object-oriented programming. This means that you take different objects and associate those objects in your program. For example, if you have a car in your C# programming, create a car class. And related to the car class, you'll build different properties associated with the car. Some properties that you can associate with a car is the color, the size, acceleration, a lot of different properties and attributes tied to your specific object. And other things that you'll relate to that object is different methods. Like a method on a car class may be how fast it moves forward. If you want to move forward by pressing the pedal a certain amount, then accelerate it a certain amount. So there's actions that are tied to your objects related into your class files. So object-oriented programming is based on building your code related around objects and not necessarily just doing functions related to action and logic. Object-oriented programming allows decomposition of a problem into a number of entities called objects, then builds that data and functions around those objects. An example going back to the car class that we can create is that we would initiate an object of our class creating a new car, and then from that, all of the properties, data, and functions related to the car, what we will implement in our main program is to initiate that object and call the different properties and functions inside of that main method. And this is typically what you'll do with object-oriented programming. You'll take an object related to your class file and build all of your properties and methods to associate with that class, and you initiate those different properties and manipulate it to whatever you want inside of your code. The software is typically divided into a number of small units called objects. The data and functions are built around these objects, tying back to the concept of object-oriented programming. Like I stated, most of you already know these basic concepts around object-oriented programming, but I like to give a refresher just to give you a little bit of a refresher on the concepts of object-oriented programming. And as we go from lecture to lecture, I'll give a general definition of it. I will give a general definition of the concept, and then we will demo the code associated with the concept. I've linked 2 object-oriented references that you can find on csharpcorner.com. This gives you all the basic principles of object-oriented programming. At the end of this lecture section, you will have this PDF. You can go to these 2 links, and it's very detailed on all of the object-oriented programming concepts related to C# and general concepts related to other programming languages. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into all of the object-oriented concepts related to C#, and let's start building some basic classes and implementing those classes into our controllers. I want to thank you for joining me in this lecture. Have a nice day.